Wow, stories.
I have been with my fiancé for almost 5 years, engaged for 1.5 years. We're an interracial couple, me being from Canada and he from India. I finally have a triple-figure net worth, half of which I've made since we started dating. He has only a few thousand in savings. Since our relationship, we have always had similar incomes, with him currently making more. I am generally safer with my money, and he has lost a lot of his in poor investments. He has always planned to bring over his parents from India, who I met there recently, to live with us or nearby. I was uncomfortable with this idea initially, early on in our relationship. After meeting them, I feel more flexible about this, because we all got along fine while staying at their house for a few weeks. We all realize that I will be the one to pay the down payment for our first home. As I am the only one with savings, I will likely be equally financially responsible for his parents, because he can't afford to provide for them by himself. And their only wealth is their house, which they intend to keep. 2 years ago, pre-engagement, I told my then boyfriend that I'd like us to have a cohabitation agreement, because we were coming up to 2 years living together. This would also act as our prenup if we were to get married. I asked him if he'd be okay with that. He said yes. I included him in the drafts since he didn't want to get his own lawyer. When I gave the contract to him to read and sign, he wouldn't sign. Fast forward 2 years, and it still isn't signed. I have tried explaining how it's important for me to protect myself, especially since I will be contributing the most financially to provide for us all. I am happy for him to get a lawyer and make amendments. I just want to know that in the worst-case scenario, I won't continue to be financially responsible for all of them, or lose more than my fair share because he cannot support his parents. He knows I have witnessed many divorces, including my own parents. I'm a realist and want to be responsible. He feels like I don't trust him, and that I must not truly love him if I'm thinking of finances. I understand that our opinions on this are somewhat cultural, but I think it's unfair for me to be flexible and willing to take all of this on without any security net if things go south. I was very resentful and anxious after the few failed attempts I made at having him sign, discussing it. I always left the conversations feeling selfish and immoral. I eventually gave up and have tried to let it go. We're 2 months away from our wedding now, and some of this worry and resentment is resurfacing. What would you suggest doing in this situation? He is otherwise a wonderful, kind man, and I do love him. Updated. Wow, I did not expect so many responses. Thank you. To clarify, we do currently split everything 50-50 and would continue to do so. The exception being the down payment and any potential costs he and his parents can't cover, which I know is unfair. But his argument is that we would save on childcare. Yes, he sends part of his salary home to his parents. His parents would rent out part of their house in India and keep the other half. They could contribute this, but it still won't convert to much here. They both intend on getting part-time jobs here. Ideally, they would be in an in-law suite or duplex. I have made it clear that I don't want to share the same 4 walls when they are healthy enough to look after themselves. But who knows what we'll be able to afford? Prices in our city are insane. Yes, I meant 6-figure net worth. They are not as traditional as most families in India. They ensured their daughters receive the exact same education as my partner, and they have similar jobs there. He's very generous when he can be. He funded our trip to India. I'm aware that at this point the cohab prenup would likely be considered invalid anyway, because signing dates are so different, and we're too close to the wedding. I don't know what else to do in that regard. In my province, he is already entitled to half of what I've made during our relationship, simply because we've lived together for 2 years. I didn't know about this until 1.5 years in, hence the request for a cohab agreement at the time. If he had signed on time, I would have been protected in time. I didn't want to force him with a deadline because of the coercion factor. Yep, half of the resentment is him going back on his word. But this is the only situation in 5 years where that's happened. So yeah, the situation is a bit more nuanced, and I'm already slightly screwed if we call off the wedding. Are there any other ways to protect myself? I'm going to leave him and I'm not telling him until I've planned an exit strategy. All your comments have affirmed what I was trying to deny. His beliefs come before my needs, especially if they clash when it comes to life-altering matters. He has been gaslighting me, which I feel pretty stupid about not realizing. It shouldn't take 2 years to do something I've repeatedly told him is important to me and asked him to do. This is where he lost my trust. I'm not even fussed about marriage. I'd happily stay in a common law relationship for life, still with a prenup. I only ever agreed to it because it was important to him. I needed this wake-up call, so thank you now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your post is teeming with red flags. He is otherwise a wonderful, kind man, and I do love him. So this wonderful man thinks it's okay for him and his parents to sponge off of you for the rest of time, and won't sign the prenup that protects you when the worst happens. And given your story, it will. His parents being kind hosts for 2 weeks is worlds away from moving them into your home. Why are they not selling their home in India and buying something here? Nearby is bad enough, but living with them is a huge mistake. So many posts on Reddit from both Indian and non-Indian women regretting that decision to live with their in-laws. Please reconsider marriage at this time. There are no positives in this scenario for you. Comment 2. Time to set the end date for breakup. He's not signing for the same reasons you want him to sign. Set a 2-week time limit. If he's not signing, then it's over. He's chosen, you already know it. The next man you date needs to have more financial stability. Lesson learned. Update. Seek legal counsel on this matter, but you would be better off breaking it off. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around to hear more. Just when I thought things couldn't get more twisted, life threw a curveball that made my head spin. Last week, my fiancé's parents arrived unexpectedly. And guess what? They're not going back. They sold their house in India, the one they were supposed to keep, and now they're here to stay permanently. And the cherry on top, they handed all the money from the sale to my fiancé, trusting him to invest it wisely here. But instead of investing, my fiancé did something that made my blood boil. He put a down payment on a house I hadn't seen, hadn't agreed to, and certainly hadn't signed off on. And it wasn't just any house. It was a mansion, way beyond what we could afford, even with my savings and his parents' money combined. The family dynamics, a complete 100D. Suddenly, I'm not the one with the most financial input. His parents are calling the shots, and my fiancé is all too happy to oblige. They've decided we're all moving in together. No discussion, no consideration for what I want. And the resentment I felt before? It's nothing compared to the betrayal and anger boiling inside me now. I confronted him and it was ugly. Accusations flew, words that can't be taken back were said. And in the heat of the moment, he admitted something that shattered my world. He'd been lying about sending money to his parents all along. They didn't need it. They were testing me, seeing if I'd support him unconditionally. I was nothing but a pawn in their game of familial loyalty. I was done. I packed my bags and left, not caring about the money or the house. I moved back in with a friend, and I've been couch surfing ever since. My friend, bless her, has been my rock, helping me navigate the storm of emotions and practicalities of untangling my life from his. But life wasn't done with me yet. Yesterday, I got a call from a lawyer. My fiancé's parents had been in a car accident. They didn't make it, and in a cruel twist of fate, they had made me the beneficiary of their will, not my fiancé. They'd done it the day they arrived, before the house purchase, before everything fell apart. Now I'm sitting on a fortune, a house that's legally mine, and a broken relationship that's beyond repair. My fiancé is devastated, not just by the loss of his parents, but by the revelation that they trusted me more than him. He's been begging for forgiveness, for a second chance. But I can't. I won't. I've decided to sell the house, give him his parents' investment back, and wash my hands of this mess. I'm starting anew, with a clear conscience and a heavy heart. I've learned my lesson the hard way, and I'm never looking back.